Hello everyone, and thank you for coming to yet another episode of The Gloving Paradigm. I am your host Peter, aka LPD8 Dubuque, and this week is going to be a very interesting week because there's been a lot of talk in the gloving community about various things when it comes to gloving in general, and I felt like this would be a good topic to cover because it's just one of these things I keep seeing people having arguments over, and it just, to me, it drives me up the wall because I just feel like people are just completely giving people the wrong idea about anything when it comes to gloving in certain contexts. So what this episode is pretty much going to be about is covering what I like to call the gloving spectrum. Okay, everything has its own form of spectrum, you know. Like I said in my very first episode, gloving has grown to a point where it's no longer just this little fad thing. It's actually its own paradigm when it comes to itself, right? You know, there's so many different things that you can take away from it, so many different things that you can learn, so many things that you can experience when it comes to gloving. And I actually want to kind of cover this whole spectrum the best way I can with my own thoughts and feelings on it, okay? So the two ends of your spectrum is anywhere from just a casual hobby to a full-flown competitive outlet, basically, okay? Now, what do I really mean by this is, let's kind of start from one end. So what does it actually mean to be a casual glover? Well, when you look at the word casual, it just means an enthusiast of little, very little investment into the thing. So in this case, somebody who maybe only has one glove set, or probably doesn't even have like the biggest next top of the line set type deal. Maybe they only have like the one modes, for example. And they probably only have a lot of accessories, a lot of different casings, like the colored casings or any of the diffusers that have been out there on the market. That's pretty much what it is for a casual. Now, a lot of people are going to sit there and be like, well, all newcomers are casuals in that sense, which is technically true because you don't start out immediately a pro player type deal, right? You have to start at some point, and everyone starts at the casual setting where, you're showing your enthusiasm into it. And you're showing, your desire for the thing, right? So after a while, you kind of go from this casual person to just being an enfranchised person. Now, what does it mean to be an enfranchised person? It's pretty simple. It's somebody who's actually invested a good amount of time into gloving, a good amount of money into gloving. People who's amassed a good collection of lights over the years and things like that. Somebody who's put in a good amount of time. There's various different people in this kind of area. You have some people who are just a collector. They like to collect the lights. They like to collect the different styles of gloves. They like to collect the different accessories that goes with the lights. Different diffusers, different colored casings, just different casings altogether. And then you have somebody like a brewer who likes to make color sets or like to create different sets with different flashing patterns and manipulate the blanks in the color palette around to create different effects within the flashing patterns. You have somebody who's like an innovator who is not as much as looking into like lights and their capabilities, but more into the motions and movements and techniques and concepts that are out there today. There are people out there who just kind of want to push the envelope and see what they can create. Those are enfranchised people. I'm somebody who I consider myself a brewer. I like playing around with different light chips and creating different sets with, weird out-of-the-box concepts. Like, one of my personal favorite ones I came up with was doing DOPs with a color, a blank, color, 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 blank, color. And the two end colors would be the same color, and then the middle ones would be a little mix of whatever. So like in this example, it would be like purple, blank, mint, white, mint, blank, purple. And I like doing this on DOPs, and I would like to actually change the tint settings on the end pieces to be mediums while everything else was on high. Because when I would slightly move my finger around, you would have like one color, which is the three kind of mixed together, but then you would have the end pieces kind of like sticking out. So it added this really, really cool effect. That's something I like to do with lights. And that's what I like to do as an enfranchised person. Okay. Now, there are other parts of the spectrum that a lot of people are in. One of the things that a lot of people, for some reason, like to bag on is a choreographer. Now, choreography has been one of those huge heated discussions in the gloving community, and a lot of people's reactions, it drives me up the wall seeing this, because it's just like, to me, it's just like, did you even watch a choreographed dance before? A lot of people will tell you that choreography has no emotion, it doesn't take any creativity, which to me, both of those things are laughable, because obviously, as a person who says that choreography is not good for gloving, never seen Travis Wall, and never seen any of the great choreographies that you've seen on Dancing with the Stars, or So You Think You Dance, telling me that choreography has no emotion is laughable, okay? When it comes to choreography, it is basically the same thing as freestyling, except it's structured, okay? It's expression that's just been structured. Now, yes, it's like you just took everything of your expression and tailored it into a structured form with rules, but that's what dance forms are, Look at ballroom dancing, Ballroom dancing is not as much of an expression especially when it comes to competitions. It's in a competitive setting with ballroom dancing does your posture match what it needs to be? Are your feet pointing in the right direction in certain movements? Are you doing the correct steps? Are you holding your arms and your partner's arm in the same position that they need to be in at all times? There's very strict structured when it comes to like ballroom dancing, but when it comes to choreography and gloving, we have a form that we are following, with like finger rolls and liquid and tutting, things have to make a 90-degree angle or a 45. If you're doing a 45-degree angle, you need to convey that very clearly that it's a 45 to the viewer, especially if it's the judge, to convey what you're doing. And that's what choreography does. It allows people to set a form of structure to build off of, okay? And along with choreography, choreography can be, used to tailor the expression of the song that you're using, whatever music piece that you're using. You'd be using choreography to make a statement and using the music to help facilitate the statement that you're making, whether it be a world issue or a personal experience or just a simple story of something that happened in your life, whatever the case may be. Now it also comes down to the dancers who are doing this choreography to help fully commit to evoke the emotions and the message that the dance is trying to convey. It's a two-part system kind of deal. You have the choreography that's expressing the statement of whatever the piece is supposed to be about, and then you have the dancers who are supposed to commit 100% to the choreography to really help convey the message, especially when it comes to like contemporary dancing. It's much more about how the body makes shapes and the movements it makes to convey the emotions that are going on. So the people who are out there are saying that choreography is stupid and should not even come anywhere close to gloving is just downright laughable to me, because first of all, Travis Wall is one of my favorite choreographers. He uses a lot of the music that I listen to that I actually am very attached to, because that style of music really speaks to me as a person. And to tell me that there's no emotion in that is so laughable that I can't even take you seriously. So, it's insane how much people want to sit here and bash on choreography when it's just an untapped resource, in my opinion, for gloving that we should actually really try to expand on. Now, am I the type of person who's going to try to expand on choreography? No, I don't even know where to begin when it comes to choreography, okay? But there are people out there that do, and telling them that they shouldn't be doing it is completely unjustified, in my opinion, okay? Now, I kind of really went off the deep end when it comes to choreography, but I will try to bring us right back, okay? But then you have the festival goers who are not really huge in the competitive scene, but you will find them at pretty much every event that you go to. They're the personalities that you see in person, which is great. There are people who are just so well known, and that's their style of gloving. That's what they get out of gloving. You have online personalities that are out there who are, help nurturing the community and, helping by answering questions to a lot of newcomers, just being very interactive with the community. And then you have people like me who are content creators. You got myself, you got Merc over at the Gloving Nucleus, you got somebody like Jess who makes a bunch of tutorials, you got, Flo who makes a bunch of tutorials and does a lot of, videos for people to help expand on concepts, and just, people who actually make entertainment. Again, when it comes to Jess, he makes a lot of memes, which I know a lot of people are probably sick of. So, but you have those, and then you have pretty much the big point, which is the competitive scene. And this is where I get really nitty and gritty about the competitive scene. And I'm not saying that I'm getting on the competitive scene about what they're doing. It's about just respecting what the competitive scene is and stop trying to change it for your individual self. Okay, I see this time and time again, so many times on the gloving, in the gloving community, that people say you shouldn't be going to competitions to win. You should be going to express yourself. That's what gloving is. It's about expression. It's not about winning and all this stuff. Okay, first of all, stop right there. Competition is what competition is. It is the spirit about trying to win. It's trying to be the best. Okay, now I'm not saying that it's either, I'm not saying like how Nerf's slogan is, it's Nerf or nothing. Competition is what competition is. The goal is to win, right? Now, if you're somebody who's out there who says, oh, you shouldn't be going to win, you should be going to express yourself, we have an area for you to express yourself. It's called festivals and venues. You want to express yourself, you go do that, because then you're not sitting there worrying about people judging how well your technique is. People are just there to appreciate it. So if you want to express yourself with gloving, just go to festivals and stuff, but don't go to competitions and telling people that competing to win is wrong. Okay, it completely defeats the purpose of competition altogether, in my opinion, if you say it that way. Okay, for somebody who wants to be what I've always come to know it as a competitive grinder, which, if you don't know what that means, is somebody who goes to competitions and grinds their way through these competitions trying to rack up points to actually get up to the pro scene. Now, is there a pro scene? Yes and no. It's a lot of your sponsors. There's a lot of people who are out there, really making a lot of content, for companies and things like that. That's your pro scene. There are people out there who want to be there. They want to be very well-known glovers and things like that. Now, am I saying that the only way to become very well-known in gloving is by going to competitions? No. Is it the quickest? Yes. It is the very quickest way, because people who enjoy watching the competitions are going to see you there. Especially if you're in a feature match, you're going to get the exposure you want. If that's what you're looking for, competition is the very quickest way. But that's not necessarily the only way to become very well known. Okay, I really want to stress that is not the only way to become well known. All right, so to be a competitive grinder, it's you're heavily committed and heavily invested into the competitive environment. More than the average glover. You travel to a lot of the comps, whether if you're actually able to, especially if you have a lot of local ones up nearby, then it's really easy for you to do. You're keeping up with the meta trends. You're learning all the newest concepts that people are coming out with, and not only learning them, but taking it a step further and actually learning more from it and expanding on it, really. And then somebody who really studies the competitive environment altogether. Understanding what the scorecard has on it and what the judges are looking for, speaking with the judges on what their consensus of good form is having your palms completely parallel to the floor, facing upwards to make the correct finger roll, which is one of the things that I was actually talking about when some of these came up, especially when it comes to the competitive scene, that I would feel like we should be at a point that the judges actually make like a pamphlet and actually have like diagrams to show you what they're looking for. Now, if you're not understanding where I'm coming from on that, let me kind of give you some context. If you guys ever seen the movie Blades of Glory, which is a Will Ferrell, John Heder movie that has William Hurt, Amy Poehler, yada yada, there's a scene in there after the fact that Will Ferrell and John Heder were going to team up to do pair skating with each other. their coach was showing them this board, and it had figures on it of figure skaters doing moves. And you had these little rotation arrows going around their arms and legs and stuff, and showing you the direction of how your body's supposed to move. That's what I was talking about when it came to like ballroom dancing and figure skating, is that I felt like gloving should be at this point where we would actually have that pamphlet, this diagram of figures to show you what judges are looking for to get scores, right? That's what I was talking about. Now, I know a lot of people are like, but ballroom dancing and figure skating are not the same as gloving. I'm not saying that they are, and I'm not saying that they're not. I'm simply talking about that little pamphlet thing, that little board that William Hurt had on a nice little A-frame, showing them the moves that the judges are looking for. Okay, that's what I was talking about. I'm not talking about, gloving should be part of ballroom or it should be part of figure skating or any of that. I was taking what those use to help the competitive scene. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. That's something I would love to see come out very soon. Now, I'll certainly say somebody's kind of already been doing that inadvertently, and I actually hope that this person kind of realized what they're doing and actually push it further. Puppet actually came up with this concept Google document that kind of has what I was talking about. He actually has figures where you actually see a person's face and there's a grid, and it actually shows you points for depth perception, smaller dots being on the sides and a big dot in front of the face. He's doing exactly what I'm looking for, and I hope that if he's listening to this, that he picks up on that idea and actually just propels it even further with more diagrams and more figures and just more demonstrations on that document. Okay, so Puppet, if you're listening, please understand where I'm coming from and really take off with that. Okay, considering that, if I remember correctly, he says he's had judged before, so he knows what to look for. Idea, he should know how to convey this much better than I can. Okay, so that's the competitive scene. All right, that's that's how I'm looking at it. That's one of the ideas I also have that I hope will be fulfilled, because for somebody like me, who's what I consider in the casual area, who would like to get into the competitive scene, not saying that I really do, but I'm just saying if I was a person who wants to get into the competitive scene, that's the information I would be looking for. Okay, and that's just my experience as a competitor. Somebody who took a break from the competitive scene and then come back, I have to do a lot of research. I gotta see what's going on in the metagame. I gotta see, what's winning, what decks are actually viable in the case of Magic the Gathering, or when it comes to like Super Smash Brothers, like since there's the new one, the Ultimate one that just came out, what characters, what are the characters' characteristics, what are their fighting styles, what moves do they have in their arsenal that, are really, really good. There's a whole spectrum on that as well. Just like how gloving has its own spectrum, from the casual hobbyists, to a full competitor who has a competitive outlet. So that's that's pretty much where I'm trying to get with all of this. Okay, is that gloving has its own spectrum, and everyone falls in a place on it. Now, am I saying that any of these places are wrong or right? No. These points on the spectrum are just points of what a lot of people get out of gloving. For me, it's an expressive outlet. It allows me to just be, allows me to be who I really want to be and express who I really am. And actually be able to tell my own story. To some people, that's not what it is. To some people, it's a competitive outlet. They want to be the best at what they can be, and the only way they can achieve that is by competing and proving not only to themselves, but to everyone around them that has doubted their abilities, that they can be the best. And when it comes to competitions, if you're a type of person who's just trying so hard and nothing's ever working, you're not getting the points that you want, you're not making those good finishes in the performances that you have, there might be at some point that you're just going to have to accept that, the competitive outlet for you, it's not for you. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way, and I'll even tell you myself that I've had plenty of hard life learning experiences from competitions, and to accept the fact of what it is and to move on from it was probably one of the biggest steps that, as me as a competitor, had to do. So I'm not saying that if you're just never getting better at in the competitive environment you should give up. No, that's far from the truth. You should still keep pushing yourself if that's what you're looking for. And the big thing for me when it comes to, especially when it comes to competitions, and it's the overall underlining theme when it comes to competitions, is that regardless of the competitions, it should still be fun for you. If you're not having fun at competitions, it might not just be what it is for you. You know, like I've said multiple times, gloving is not a competitive outlet for me. I don't want it to be a competitive outlet for me because I already have one that tailors to my competitive spirit, which is Magic the Gathering. You know, and I'm not saying that gloving will never be a competitive outlet for me. It might. I actually never really gave myself the actually hard effort to actually do competitions for gloving. You know, I did it once, but it wasn't sanctioned because it was still things were still kind of new back then. But, you know, if I wanted to, then I will try it. But I'm not saying that, you know, somebody who is in the competitive scene should stop being in the competitive scene. I'm just saying that if it's just, you're not getting any fun out of it no matter what you're doing, then it's probably not for you. You know, and the people who keep telling the people of the competitive scene that they shouldn't be doing it to win just needs to really pump your brakes and actually just reevaluate what you're saying, because you're just kind of imposing your ideals of gloving onto other people. You know, gloving has different means to an end to other people. You know, so that's basically what I'm trying to convey to all of you. That's pretty much the entire episode, basically, is that there's a spectrum for gloving, and you just need to find where on the spectrum you fit. And I'm not saying that you only fit in one spot. You can have different points of the spectrum that work for you. You know, you can combine all those points together. You know, you can be a competitive person who's an innovator, who pushes out these different ideas and concepts and really, you know, change the landscape of the competitive scene. Do they work all the time? No. A lot of the concepts that people come up usually flop. But, you know, trial and error is pretty much the key here, right? So that's pretty much what I have all to say about on this episode. I really hope that you guys understand where I was coming from on a lot of things. You know, I'm trying to clarify some discussions that people didn't really understand when I was coming from when I referred to things like ballroom or figure skating or any other competitive outlet in a dance sport scene, because I'm not saying that they need to be the same. I'm just grasping at different snippets of those scenes to kind of fortify and expand our own scene, if that makes sense. You know, I'm saying that if we had things like this could help a lot of people with the information that they're looking for. You know, that's pretty much what I'm just trying to convey to everybody. So I really hope you guys have been enjoying this episode. I really do actually want to hear what you guys have to say on this matter, because, you know, it's just one of those heated discussions that comes and goes in waves. You know, one person will make a post about it and there'll be like 300 comments on it, and then somebody a couple weeks later will make the same post but only have a few comments on it. So, you know, it comes in waves. I would like to know where you guys sit on the gloving spectrum. Where do you feel, you know, gloving is for you? You know, like I said, you know, to me, gloving is an expressive outlet, and that's what it is for me. If it's a competitive outlet, good for you. I would like to know what it is that you're trying to do in the competitive scene. You know, what are you looking for? Definitely want to hear any of you guys' questions on certain things. If there's things that I've talked about that weren't very clear, I would love to hear more about it, so I can help convey what I'm trying to speak about a little bit better for you. The places that you can hit me up is, of course, on Facebook, aptly named The Gloving Paradigm. You can also hit me up at my email, which is muttonchopguy@gmail.com. And you can also hit me up on my Discord chat, which will be in the episode description. Pretty much that's where everyone's been talking to me a good amount. And also you can find me on Reddit under the username muttonchopguy as well. Definitely on Reddit, so definitely would love to hear you guys' feedback. I would like to thank everybody who has been following the show so far, and thank you for everyone who's been giving me a lot of feedback on stuff. Highly, highly appreciate it. So that's pretty much it. I am your host, Peter, aka LPD8 Dubuque, and I'll see you guys all next week.